The massive space station hung in the darkness like a giant metal flower. Its silver walls caught the light from 3 different suns, making it shine like a jewel against the black sky. Inside the station, beings from 47 different worlds had come together for the most important meeting in galactic history. Ambassador Velthari walked through the long hallways, her blue scales catching the soft light from the ceiling. She was nervous and her gills fluttered with each breath. In all her years serving the Aquilian Republic, she had never seen the other species so afraid. The emergency meeting had been called just 3 days ago, and already every major power in the galaxy had sent their best people. The main council chamber was huge. Rows of seats curved around a central platform, each one designed for a different type of alien body. Some seats had water tanks for the fish-like Aquilians. Others had special breathing equipment for species that needed different air. The room buzzed with worried voices speaking in dozens of languages. Council Prime Morden stood at the center platform. He was old, even by the standards of his people. His body looked like it was made of clear crystal, and lights moved through him like thoughts made visible. He had led the hegemony of peaceful worlds for over 300 years, and everyone respected him. "My friends," Morden said, his voice somehow reaching every corner of the huge room, "we face a threat unlike any we have known. The reports from our scouts are disturbing." A holographic display appeared above the platform. It showed a small blue and green planet orbiting a yellow star. The planet looked peaceful from space, with white clouds swirling over green lands and blue oceans. "This is the world they call Terra 3, Mordoon continued. "At first glance, it seems like many worlds we know, but our observations have revealed something terrible." The display changed, showing closer images of the planet's surface. Velthari gasped along with many others in the room. The images showed massive explosions, cities burning, and strange metal beasts moving across battlefields. The creatures fighting these wars looked almost like the peaceful species they knew, but they moved with a violence that made her sick. War Marshal Grixtal stood up from his seat. He was a large, gray-skinned being with scars covering his arms and face. He commanded the military forces of the Krillian Empire, and he had seen more battles than anyone else in the room. But even he looked worried. "I have studied warfare for 200 years, Grixtal said in his deep voice. "I have seen species fight over resources, territory, even ideas. But these humans, they fight in ways that make no sense." The hologram showed more images, humans throwing themselves at enemy positions even when they knew they would die. Weapons that could destroy entire cities in seconds. Poisons that could kill millions. Ships that could travel under the water like fish but carried enough firepower to level mountains. "They fight each other," Grixtal continued, "not other species themselves. They have wars that last for years, sometimes decades. They create weapons designed only to cause pain. They use their own planet as a weapon, turning their weather against their enemies." Dr. Zenthara, the chief scientist from the meditation worlds, activated her translation device. Her people communicated through color changes in their skin, but the device turned her thoughts into words others could understand. "The planet itself is a death world," her artificial voice said. "Gravity twice what most of us can handle. Weather that changes from burning heat to freezing cold in the same day. Earthquakes that can swallow cities. Storms that carry winds fast enough to destroy buildings. And somehow these humans not only survive there, they thrive." The room fell silent. Everyone knew about death worlds. They were planets where only the strongest, most dangerous life could survive. Most species avoided them completely. The idea that intelligent beings could evolve on such a world was terrifying. Velthari stood up slowly. "Surely we can reason with them. Every intelligent species can be talked to. We can offer them trade, technology, a place in our peaceful galaxy." Morden's crystal body dimmed. "We tried. 3 months ago, we sent a peaceful contact mission to their system. We used their own communication methods, spoke in their languages, offered gifts of knowledge and friendship." The hologram changed again. This time it showed a recording from the contact mission. A beautiful ship with the symbols of peace painted on its hull approached the human world. The ship sent messages of friendship in every human language they had learned. The human response was swift and brutal. Missiles launched from hidden positions on their planet and nearby moons. The peaceful contact ship tried to defend itself, but the humans had somehow learned to track ships that should have been invisible to their technology. The ship was destroyed in seconds. "They didn't even try to communicate," Mordoon said sadly. They saw our ship and immediately treated it as an enemy. The attack was planned, coordinated, and used weapons we didn't know they had. Captain Torvash of the Merchant Alliance spoke up. His people were traders who had visited more worlds than anyone else. I've seen their entertainment broadcasts. They make stories about beings from other worlds, and in every story, the aliens are enemies to be destroyed. They have trained their entire population to see us as threats. The evidence kept coming. Images of human training facilities where young humans learned to fight from childhood. Weapons factories that produce tools of war instead of tools of peace. Research centers where humans studied how to make deadlier poisons, stronger explosives, and more efficient ways to kill. They are preparing for war, Grixtal said. Not just any war, but war against us. They know we exist, and they are getting ready to attack us. Elder Queen from the Harmony Collective spoke in her singing voice. But they are confined to one system. Their technology is primitive compared to ours. Surely they cannot be a real threat. Dr. Zenthara's skin flashed dark red, which the translator interpreted as deep concern. Their technology is not primitive. It is different. We build for efficiency and peace. They build for war and survival. Look at their space program. New images appeared. Human ships that looked nothing like the elegant vessels of the galaxy. They were thick, armored, covered in weapons. Instead of the smooth curves that made space travel comfortable, human ships looked like flying fortresses. They have been in space for less than a century, but they already have ships that could match our cruisers in battle, Dr. Zenthara continued. They don't explore space to learn and grow. They explore it to find new places to fight. The debate continued for hours. Some representatives argued for more attempts at peace. Others wanted to simply avoid the human system entirely. But as more evidence was presented, the conclusion became clear. They are expanding, Morden finally said. Our long-range scouts have detected human ships at the edge of their system. They are building more vessels every day. Soon, they will have the technology to reach our worlds. The thought sent fear through every being in the room, a species that fought like humans, coming to their peaceful worlds with their weapons of war. Grixtal stood up one final time. I propose we act now while they are still confined to their system. A quick, decisive strike. We can end this threat before it spreads to the rest of the galaxy. The vote was called. One by one, each representative made their choice. The Aquilian Republic voted yes. The hegemony of peaceful worlds voted yes. The Krillian Empire voted yes. Every single world, every species, every government that had come to the meeting voted the same way. 47 worlds. 47 yes votes. 0 no votes. 0 abstentions. The humans would be destroyed before they could bring their violence to the peaceful galaxy. As the representatives began to leave, planning their return to their homeworlds to prepare for war, none of them noticed the small probe hidden in the station's outer hull. It had been there for months, silently recording everything with technology they didn't recognize. The probe's message traveled faster than light, reaching its destination in just a few hours. Deep beneath Earth's Pacific Ocean, Admiral Li Huan received the transmission and smiled grimly. The galaxy had just declared war on humanity. They had no idea what they had done. The ocean above New Busan was dark and cold, 5 kilometers beneath the Pacific's surface. No sunlight had ever touched the hidden city's walls. Giant windows made of reinforced crystal looked out into the deep water, where strange fish with glowing eyes swam past like living stars. Admiral Li Huan stood in the war room, his hands clasped behind his back as he watched the holographic display. The message from their spy probe was clear. The galaxy wanted humanity dead. Around him, the most important military leaders on Earth gathered for an emergency meeting. 47 worlds, General Park Minji said, her cybernetic eye glowing red as she processed the data. Every major civilization in the galaxy voted to wipe us out. Li Huan nodded slowly. He was 58 years old with gray hair and scars on his hands from his early days as a fighter pilot. He had spent 30 years preparing for this moment, ever since humanity first detected alien signals from space. How long until their fleet reaches us? He asked. Dr. Kim Tae-ho adjusted his thick glasses and pulled up star charts on his tablet. He was young for such an important position, only 35, but he understood alien technology better than anyone else on Earth. Based on their ship designs and power signatures, I estimate 6 months, Kim said. They will need time to gather their forces and travel here. But Admiral, their fleet will be massive. Our satellites show over 300 ships preparing to leave their home systems. Captain Cho Jinwoo leaned forward in his chair. He was the leader of humanity's elite fighter squadrons, a man who had never lost a battle in space. His calm eyes showed no fear, only calculation. "What's our fleet strength?" Cho asked. Li Huan smiled for the first time since receiving the message. "Show them." The holographic display changed, revealing the true scope of humanity's preparations. Images of massive shipyards hidden throughout the solar system appeared. Underground factories on Mars, asteroid mining operations that were really weapons platforms, secret bases on the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. "For 50 years we've been preparing," Li Huan said. "Ever since we intercepted our first alien transmission, we knew this day would come. They would see us as a threat, and they would try to destroy us before we could defend ourselves." General Park Minji stood up and activated her own display. "Operation Deathworld has been our top priority for 5 decades. While they watched us fight wars on the surface, we built a real military in secret." The display showed Earth's hidden fleet, ships that looked nothing like the primitive rockets the aliens had observed. These vessels were sleek, black, and covered in armor that could absorb energy weapons. Each ship carried enough firepower to destroy a city. "How many ships do we have?" Dr. Kim asked. 2,000 combat vessels, Park Minji replied. 500 fighters, 100 heavy cruisers, 50 dreadnoughts, and 10 ships they've never seen before. The display focused on the new ship designs. They were huge, larger than anything in Earth's official space program. Dark metal hulls bristled with weapons that used technology reverse-engineered from crashed alien ships and stolen transmissions. Captain Cho Jinwoo whistled softly. "I've been training pilots for 20 years and I've never seen these designs. That's because they were built in complete secrecy," Li Huan explained. "Only the highest levels of government and military knew about them. We call them planet killers." Dr. Kim Taeho studied the ship specifications with growing excitement. "Admiral, these weapon systems, they're based on human military theory, not alien designs. Kinetic bombardment, nuclear fusion, biological warfare. The aliens have never faced anything like this. That's the point," Li Huan said. "They study each other's military tactics. They know how civilized species fight wars. But we're not civilized by their standards. We're Deathworlders." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The aliens thought they understood humanity based on their surface observations. They had watched human wars and seen primitive weapons and simple tactics. They had no idea about the hidden preparations, the advanced technology, or the true nature of human warfare. "Sir," General Park Minji said, "what about the surface governments? Do they know?" Li Huan shook his head. "The President knows we exist, but not our full capabilities. The UN Security Council thinks we're just a small research division. They believe our real military is the ships and weapons they can see." This was humanity's greatest deception. While the world's governments squabbled over territory and resources, the real military had been preparing for an alien invasion. They had let the aliens observe surface conflicts, making humanity look weak and divided. Meanwhile, the true strength of Earth remained hidden beneath the oceans, inside asteroids and on the dark side of the moon. Captain Cho Jinwoo pulled up tactical displays of alien ship designs. Their vessels are built for fighting other civilized species. Energy shields, long-range weapons, minimal armor. They expect clean battles with rules and honor. Honor? General Park Minji laughed bitterly. They vote to commit genocide and talk about honor. Dr. Kim Taeho was studying biological reports on the alien species. "Admiral, I've been analyzing their physiology for years. Most of them evolved on low-gravity worlds with stable climates. They're physically weak compared to humans. Their bones are fragile, their muscles are underdeveloped, and they have no experience with real violence." "What do you mean?" Li Huan asked. "They've been at peace for centuries," Kim explained. "Their wars are fought with computer simulations and economic pressure. When they do fight, it's usually over quickly with minimal casualties. They have no concept of total war." Li Huan understood. Humanity had learned to fight on a world that was constantly trying to kill them. Earthquakes, hurricanes, volcanic eruptions, ice ages. Every generation had faced some kind of natural disaster that required them to adapt or die. Then they had learned to fight each other with the same ruthless efficiency. Their intelligence reports show they think we're primitive because we still have conflicts on Earth, General Park Minji noted. They don't understand that conflict makes us stronger. The holographic display showed training facilities hidden around the world. Human soldiers practicing in environments that would kill most alien species, combat training in crushing gravity, poisonous atmospheres, and extreme temperatures. Warriors who could fight in the vacuum of space without protection, using only their natural ability to hold their breath and withstand pressure changes. Our Marines have been training for alien combat for 30 years, Park Minji continued. They know alien anatomy, alien technology, and alien tactics. But the aliens know nothing about us except what we've let them see. Captain Cho Jinwoo brought up fleet formations. Sir, their attack plan is predictable. They'll come in a standard siege formation, expecting us to surrender when we see their numbers. They'll broadcast demands for submission and give us time to comply. How much time? Li Huan asked. Based on their previous conflicts, probably 24 hours, Cho replied. They believe in giving civilized species a chance to surrender with dignity. Dr. Kim Tae-ho laughed. They have no idea what they're dealing with. A species that evolved on a death world doesn't surrender. We adapt, we overcome, or we die fighting. Li Huan walked to the main window looking out into the dark ocean. Somewhere above, the aliens were preparing their fleets, confident in their superiority. They had studied humanity's surface wars and seen what looked like primitive violence. They had no idea about the cold, calculating intelligence that had built this hidden military. General Park, he said without turning around, begin Operation Prometheus. I want every ship ready for combat in 72 hours. Yes, sir, Park replied. What about the surface governments? They'll be informed when the alien fleet arrives, Li Huan said. Until then, we maintain operational secrecy. The aliens think they're facing a primitive species with basic space technology. Let them keep thinking that until it's too late. Captain Cho Jinwoo stood up. Admiral, request permission to begin final pilot training. My squadrons are ready, but I want them prepared for the specific alien ship designs we've identified. Granted, Li Huan said. Dr. Kim, how are our computer warfare systems? Kim smiled grimly. Ready, sir. We've been studying alien computer languages for decades. Our viruses are designed specifically to target their systems. They use peaceful protocols with built-in trust mechanisms. They're completely vulnerable to hostile code. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. The aliens expected to face a species like themselves, civilized, predictable, and bound by rules of honorable warfare. Instead, they would encounter humans who had learned to fight without rules, who used every advantage available, and who viewed the survival of their species as the only law that mattered. One more thing, Li Huan said, finally turning back to his officers. When the battle begins, remember what they voted to do. They didn't choose to conquer us or enslave us. They chose genocide. Complete extermination of every human being in existence. The room was quiet. Everyone understood what that meant. This wouldn't be a normal war with prisoners and negotiations. The aliens had already decided that humanity had no right to exist. The only choice was to prove them wrong. Dismissed, Li Huan said. Prepare for war. As his officers left to ready humanity's hidden fleet, the alien fleet appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system like a storm of metal and light. 300 ships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with the symbols of 47 different worlds. The largest vessel, the flagship Divine Retribution, was 3 kilometers long and bristled with enough weapons to destroy a moon. War Marshal Grixtal stood on the bridge of his flagship, his gray skin marked with ritual scars that showed his rank. He had commanded fleets for over a century, conquering 12 star systems for the Krillian Empire. But those had been against other military powers. This was different. This was extermination. Status report, Grixtal commanded, his deep voice echoing through the bridge. Lieutenant Vextar, a young officer with bright green scales, looked up from his console. All ships have arrived safely, War Marshal. No signs of enemy activity. The human world appears undefended. Grixtal nodded. Their intelligence had been correct. Earth showed no signs of advanced space defenses. A few primitive satellites orbited the planet, along with what looked like construction equipment for a small space station. Nothing that could threaten even a single cruiser, let alone an entire fleet. Begin standard siege formation, Grixtal ordered. Place the dreadnoughts in the center, cruisers on the flanks. Keep the planet killer in reserve until we need it. Captain So Yuna floated in the darkness of space, watching the alien fleet arrange itself like pieces on a chessboard. Her ship, Soul's Vengeance, was completely invisible to their sensors, its hull covered in technology that bent light and absorbed energy signatures. She was just one of 50 human ships hidden throughout the solar system, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. "Command, this is Ghost One," she whispered into her comm system. "Enemy fleet is in position. They're following standard siege protocols just like Dr. Kim predicted." Admiral Li Huan's voice came back through her earpiece. "Acknowledged, Ghost One, wait for my signal. Let them make the first move," so Yuna smiled grimly. She was 32 years old and had been training for this moment since she was 18. Her ship was small compared to the alien dreadnoughts, but it carried enough firepower to cripple vessels 10 times its size. Human engineering had focused on efficiency and lethality, not comfort and size. On the bridge of divine retribution, War Marshal Grixtal prepared to send the standard surrender demand. It was required by galactic law. Even when dealing with a species marked for extinction, the message would be broadcast on all frequencies in every human language they had learned. "Communications, send the ultimatum," Grixtal ordered. The message went out across space, reaching Earth in minutes. "Primitive species of Terra 3, you are deemed a threat to galactic peace and stability. By vote of the Galactic Federation Council, your species has been marked for relocation. Surrender your military assets and prepare for evacuation of your major population centers. You have 24 standard hours to comply." Ambassador Velthari stood beside the War Marshal, her blue scales pale with worry. She had voted for this action. But now that she saw the beautiful blue world hanging in space, she felt sick. "War Marshal, perhaps we should wait longer for their response. They may need time to understand our message." Grixtal's scarred face showed no emotion. "The vote was unanimous, Ambassador. Every species agreed that humans pose an existential threat to galactic civilization. We cannot show weakness now." What neither of them knew was that humans had been monitoring galactic communications for decades. Earth's governments had received the message, but they were not the ones who would respond. That honor belonged to the United Earth Defense Force. Commander Jang Sungho sat in the war room beneath the Pacific Ocean, watching displays that showed the alien fleet from dozens of different angles. Hidden sensors throughout the solar system gave humanity perfect intelligence on enemy positions and movements. "Admiral," Jang said, "the alien ultimatum has been received. Surface governments are in panic, but they're following the protocol. All official channels are maintaining communication silence." Admiral Li Huan nodded. "Good. Let them think we're primitives who need time to understand their advanced technology. Captain So, are you in position?" So Yuna checked her ship's systems one final time. Soul's Vengeance was positioned just 500 meters from the alien flagship's bridge, completely undetected. "In position and ready, Admiral." "Then let's introduce ourselves properly." Captain So Yuna's fingers danced over her controls, disabling the cloaking system and powering up weapons. Soul's Vengeance appeared on alien sensors like a ghost materializing from thin air, its black hull reflecting the light from the enemy flagship's windows. Chaos erupted on the bridge of divine retribution. Alarms screamed as sensors detected the human ship appearing from nowhere. Weapons charged and targeting systems locked onto their bridge. "Impossible," Lieutenant Vextar shouted. "How did they get so close?" "Our sensors showed nothing." War Marshal Grixtal felt ice in his veins. In all his years of warfare, no enemy had ever appeared undetected within his fleet formation. "All ships, raise shields. Target that vessel." But before the aliens could react, Captain So Yuna opened a communication channel. Her voice, calm and deadly, filled the bridge of every alien ship in the fleet. "This is Captain So Yuna of the United Earth Defense Force. You have violated our system's sovereignty and threatened our homeworld with genocide. You have 10 minutes to retreat beyond the heliopause, or we will consider this an act of war and respond accordingly." Grixtal stared at the small human ship on his view screen. It was tiny compared to his flagship, no larger than a fighter craft, but somehow it had penetrated their defenses and was now holding them at gunpoint. "One ship," he whispered. "They send one ship against our entire fleet." Ambassador Velthari's gills fluttered with panic. "War Marshal, perhaps we should listen to them. If they have technology we don't understand—" "No!" Grixtal snarled. "This is a trick, some kind of suicide attack. One primitive ship cannot threaten our entire fleet." He was wrong. Throughout the alien formation, more human ships began to decloak. Not one or two, but dozens. Each one appeared in a position chosen for maximum tactical advantage. Some materialized directly above alien dreadnoughts, others between groups of cruisers where they could fire in multiple directions. Commander Jang Sung-ho's voice crackled across the human fleet's communication network. All ships, this is Earth Defense Command. You are authorized to engage if the aliens do not withdraw. Remember, they voted for genocide. Show them what happens when you threaten a Deathworlder's home. Captain Cho Jinwoo led the first fighter squadron to decloak, his voice calm despite the massive enemy fleet surrounding him. Ghost Squadron, weapons free. Target their sensor arrays and communication systems. Make them blind and deaf before they can coordinate a response. Lieutenant Vexitar's hands shook as he tried to count the human ships appearing on his sensors. War Marshal, I'm reading 40, 50, 65 human vessels. They're everywhere. War Marshal Grixtel's confidence cracked. Their intelligence had shown humans to be a primitive species with basic space technology. The few ships they had observed were crude, simple vessels that barely qualified as spacecraft. These ships were different. They moved with precision. Their hulls were covered in advanced armor and their weapon systems were unlike anything in galactic databases. How is this possible? He asked no one in particular. Captain So Yuna's voice came through the communication system again, still calm, but with an edge of steel. You studied our wars, Marshal. You watched us fight each other and decided we were primitive, but you made a mistake. You assumed we were showing you everything. On Earth, Dr. Kim Tae-ho monitored the alien fleet's communications as they tried to understand what was happening. Their messages were full of confusion and fear. They had expected to face a species like themselves, predictable, civilized, and bound by the same tactical thinking that had guided galactic warfare for centuries. Admiral, Kim reported, their fleet commanders are requesting new orders. They don't understand how we appeared undetected and they're afraid to make the first aggressive move. Admiral Li Huan smiled coldly. Of course they are. They're used to fighting other civilized species. They expect formal declarations, organized battle lines, and rules of engagement. They have no idea how humans really fight. The 10-minute deadline was approaching. On the bridge of divine retribution, War Marshal Grixtal faced the most difficult decision of his military career. He could retreat and admit that the galactic intelligence had been completely wrong about human capabilities. Or he could attack and hope that somehow his massive fleet could overcome what appeared to be a technologically superior enemy. Ambassador Velthari begged him to reconsider. War Marshal, we can withdraw and reassess. There's no shame in gathering more intelligence before attacking. But Grixtel's pride as a military commander wouldn't allow retreat. His empire had sent him to destroy the human threat, and he would not return home having been defeated by what he still believed was a primitive species. All ships, he commanded, ignore the human ultimatum. Prepare to engage. Target their vessels and fire on my command. Captain So Yuna received the alien decision through intercepted communications. She shook her head sadly. The first human attack lasted exactly 37 seconds. In that time, 12 alien dreadnoughts lost their main weapons. 43 cruisers had their engines destroyed. And the flagship Divine Retribution was left drifting in space with half its systems offline. War Marshal Grixtal pulled himself up from the deck of his bridge, blood running from a cut on his forehead. Around him, sparks flew from damaged consoles and the lights flickered as emergency power kicked in. His perfectly organized fleet was in chaos. Damage report, he shouted over the alarms. Lieutenant Vextar struggled with his broken console. Main weapons offline. Engines at 30%. Navigation systems damaged. His voice cracked with panic. War Marshal, how are they doing this? Our shield should stop any weapon. Grixtal stared at the tactical display, trying to understand what had happened. The human weapons weren't energy beams or plasma cannons like civilized species used. They were throwing chunks of metal at incredible speeds, and the impacts were tearing through alien technology like it was made of paper. Captain So Yuna's voice came through the communication system, still calm and professional. Alien fleet, this is your final warning. Withdraw from our system immediately or we will continue our attack. Continue, Grixtal whispered. He thought the devastating barrage had been their full attack. The idea that it was just a warning shot filled him with terror. But the War Marshal's pride would not let him surrender. All ships that can still fight form defensive positions. Use the damaged vessels as shields. We still outnumber them 3-1. What Grixtal didn't understand was that numbers meant nothing when your enemy could appear and disappear at will. Captain Cho Jinwoo proved this point by leading his fighter squadron in a devastating assault on the alien formation's weak points. Ghost Squadron, "This is Ghost Leader," Cho said into his comm as his fighter dove between two alien cruisers. "Target their sensor arrays. Blind them first, then hit their weapons." Cho's fighter was tiny compared to the massive alien ships, but it moved like a living thing. He had been training in Earth's crushing gravity for 20 years, and his reflexes were faster than anything the aliens had ever faced. His fighter rolled and twisted between enemy fire, too quick and agile for their targeting systems to track. The aliens tried to shoot down the human fighters, but their weapons were designed for large ship combat. Energy beams that could destroy a cruiser passed harmlessly through empty space as the fighters danced around them like insects around sleeping giants. Lieutenant Colonel Nam Hyeri led the first boarding assault, her Marines launching from hidden ships that appeared directly next to alien vessels. Her team wore powered armor that made them look like metal demons, and they cut through alien hulls with weapons that turned solid matter into vapor. "Boarding successful," Nam reported as her team carved a hole in the side of an alien dreadnought. "They're offering surrender. Should we accept?" Admiral Li Huan's response was ice cold. "Negative. They voted to exterminate us. Show them what extinction looks like." The Marines that poured into the alien ship were like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. They moved in Earth's crushing gravity every day, which made the low-gravity environments of alien ships feel like fighting underwater. They could jump higher, run faster, and hit harder than any species the aliens knew. The alien crew tried to fight back, but their weapons were designed for civilized warfare. Energy weapons that were meant to stun or disable. The humans carried projectile weapons that fired metal bullets faster than sound, and chemical explosives that could blow holes in reinforced walls. Worse, the humans seemed to enjoy the violence. They had evolved on a world where everything was trying to kill them, and they had learned to fight back with creative brutality. Where alien tactics focused on efficiency and minimal casualties, human tactics focused on psychological warfare and total destruction. Engineer Yang Dongwu watched from his station on the hidden command ship as his masterpiece began to work. For years he had been developing computer viruses specifically designed to attack alien systems. The aliens used peaceful protocols with built-in trust mechanisms, making them completely vulnerable to hostile code. "Admiral," Yang reported with satisfaction, "the virus is spreading through their fleet network. Their ships are starting to fire on each other." The virus was elegant in its simplicity. It infected alien targeting systems and changed the identification codes, making enemy ships appear as human vessels. The aliens found themselves shooting at their own allies, unable to tell friend from foe. War Marshal Grixtal watched in horror as his carefully organized fleet turned into a chaotic mess of ships firing in all directions. "Cut all network connections," he ordered. "Use manual targeting only." But it was too late. The virus had already spread to most of the fleet, and now alien ships were destroying each other faster than the humans were destroying them. The galaxy's most advanced computer systems, designed for peaceful cooperation, had become weapons turned against their own creators. Dr. Kim Tae-ho monitored the battle from Earth, his screens showing the biological stress levels of the alien crews. "Admiral, their heart rates are through the roof. Most of them are going into shock. They've never experienced anything like this." It was true. The alien species had evolved on peaceful worlds with stable climates. They had never developed the adrenaline responses and stress management that humans took for granted. The violence and chaos of real combat was literally overwhelming their nervous systems. Captain So Yuna used this to her advantage, broadcasting psychological warfare messages on all alien frequencies. "This is just the beginning," her voice echoed through every alien ship. "We know where you come from. We know where your families live. When we're done here, we're coming for your home worlds." The threats weren't real. Humans had no intention of conquering the galaxy. But the aliens didn't know that. To them, these Deathworlders seemed capable of anything. Commander Jang Seung-ho coordinated the attack from Earth Defense Command, watching as human tactics that had been developed through centuries of warfare proved devastating against enemies who had never faced real violence. "Sir," he reported to Admiral Li Huan, "the alien fleet is breaking apart. Some ships are trying to retreat. Others are still fighting each other. Their command structure has completely collapsed. The alien planet killer, their ultimate weapon, had been saved for last. The massive ship was designed to destroy entire worlds, with a main cannon that could crack a planet's crust. But engineer Yang Dongwu's virus had infected its targeting systems, and now the devastating weapon was turning on the alien fleet itself. Warning! Warning! Lieutenant Vexistar screamed as he watched the planet killer's main gun rotate toward their position. The Worldbreaker is targeting us. War Marshal Grixtel stared in disbelief as their own ultimate weapon prepared to fire on the flagship. This is impossible. Override the targeting system. But the virus had locked them out of their own computers. The planet killer's beam, designed to destroy worlds, carved through the alien fleet like a sword of light. Ships that had survived human attacks were vaporized instantly by their own superweapon. Captain Cho Jinwoo led his fighters in a final assault on the surviving alien ships. His voice calm despite the carnage around him. Ghost Squadron, finish them off. Leave the flagship and command ships intact. We want prisoners for intelligence gathering. The human fighters moved through the wreckage of the alien fleet like hunters finishing wounded prey. Their weapons were precise, targeting engines and life support systems to disable rather than destroy. The aliens who had come to commit genocide found themselves helpless and at the mercy of the species they had tried to exterminate. In less than 6 hours, the most powerful military force the galaxy had ever assembled was reduced to wreckage and drifting hulks. Of the 300 ships that had arrived to destroy humanity, only a dozen were still capable of any kind of movement, and those were badly damaged. Ambassador Velthari sat on the broken bridge of the Divine Retribution, her blue scales gray with shock. Around her, the surviving alien crew members stared at their screens in disbelief. The primitive species they had come to exterminate had destroyed them completely. How? She whispered. How did they do this? War Marshal Grixtel had no answer. His lifetime of military experience meant nothing against an enemy that fought like no species he had ever encountered. The humans used weapons that ignored their defenses, tactics that made no sense, and a level of violence that seemed impossible for intelligent beings. Captain So Yuna's ship appeared on their view screen, its hull unmarked despite the massive battle. Her voice came through their damaged communication system, no longer offering warnings or demands. This is Captain So Yuna to all surviving alien vessels. You came here to commit genocide against my species. You voted unanimously to exterminate every human being in existence. Now you've learned what happens when you threaten a Deathworlder's home. Admiral Li Huan's face appeared on every functioning screen in the alien fleet. His expression showed no mercy, no regret, only cold calculation. Your Federation made a choice when you voted to destroy us. You believed we were primitives who posed a threat to your peaceful galaxy. You were right about one thing. We are a threat. War Marshal Grixtal stood alone on what remained of his bridge, surrounded by broken screens and dead control panels. The proud flagship Divine Retribution drifted powerless in space, its hull cracked open like an egg. Through the holes in the walls, he could see the wreckage of what had once been the galaxy's greatest fleet. 6 hours. That's how long it had taken the humans to destroy 3 centuries of galactic military development. Ships that had been built by dozens of civilizations, weapons that represented the finest technology in known space, all reduced to floating scrap metal by a species the galaxy had dismissed as primitive. Admiral Li Huan's image appeared on the one working screen in front of the War Marshal. The human looked older than Grixtal had expected, with gray hair and lines around his eyes that spoke of years spent preparing for this moment. War Marshal Grixtal, Li said, his voice carrying no anger, only cold professionalism. I believe we need to discuss terms. Grixtal's scarred hands shook as he tried to stand straight. Terms? You've destroyed our entire fleet. What terms could there be? Survival, Li replied simply. For you, for your crews, and for the worlds that sent you here. But first you need to understand something. This battle was not about conquest. It was about making a point. Behind Admiral Li, President Yoon Sora stepped into view. She was a small woman with sharp eyes, wearing the simple blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. But there was steel in her voice when she spoke. Your Federation voted unanimously to exterminate our species, President Yoon said. 47 worlds agreed that humanity had no right to exist. Now you've learned what happens when you threaten a Deathworlder's home. Ambassador Velthari crawled across the broken bridge to reach the communication station. Her blue scales were pale with shock and her gills fluttered with each panicked breath. Please, she whispered, we didn't understand. Our intelligence was wrong. We thought you were primitive. You thought we were weak, Admiral Li corrected, because you judged us by your own standards. You saw our surface conflicts and assumed we were like you. Civilized beings who fight with rules and honor. But we're not civilized by your definition. We're survivors. Dr. Kim Tae-ho appeared on screen, his young face serious behind thick glasses. War Marshal, your species have been at peace for so long that you've forgotten what real warfare looks like. You build ships for exploration and commerce with weapons added as an afterthought. We build weapons that can travel through space. It was true. The alien vessels had been designed for comfort and efficiency. Large crew quarters, recreational areas, elegant dining halls for diplomatic meetings. Human ships were cramped, dark, and filled with nothing but weapons and armor. Every inch of space was designed for war. But this isn't about revenge, President Yoon continued. Despite what you tried to do to us, we're not here to conquer your worlds or enslave your peoples. We're here to offer you a choice. The view screen changed, showing star charts of the galaxy. Dozens of worlds were highlighted in red, the same worlds that had voted for humanity's destruction. But now there were also worlds highlighted in blue, and their number was growing. The Zilani Republic has requested our protection, Admiral Lee explained. They've been under threat from the Krex Dominion for decades, but your Federation wouldn't help because it would disturb the peace. 3 hours ago, our ships arrived in their system and ended the conflict. War Marshal Grixtal stared at the display. The Krex had been a persistent problem for years, but their raids had been considered minor disputes by galactic standards. The idea that humans could solve in hours what the Federation had ignored for decades was impossible to accept. How? He asked. Captain Cho Jinwoo appeared on screen, his pilot's uniform still marked with battle damage. We told the Krex raiders to leave Zilani space or be destroyed. They thought we were bluffing. He smiled coldly. They were wrong. There are no more Krex raids in that sector. You destroyed them all? Ambassador Velthari gasped. They made their choice, Cho replied. Just like your Federation made theirs. The difference is the Zilani asked for our help instead of trying to commit genocide. The star chart updated again, showing more blue systems. Dr. Kim Tae-ho pulled up intelligence reports. The Harmony Collective has also requested protection. The meditation worlds want to join our alliance. Even some worlds from your own hegemony are asking for human assistance. It was happening faster than anyone had expected. Word of humanity's victory was spreading across the galaxy, through communication networks and refugee ships. Species that had lived in fear of stronger neighbors were suddenly hearing about warriors from a death world who could end conflicts in hours instead of decades. This is impossible, Grixtal said. You can't protect half the galaxy with a few dozen ships. Admiral Lee smiled, and for the first time, there was something other than cold professionalism in his expression. Who said we only had a few dozen ships? The view screen switched to show Earth's solar system, and War Marshal Grixtal felt his heart stop. Emerging from hidden positions throughout the system were thousands of human vessels, ships of designs he had never seen, weapons platforms built into asteroids, orbital stations that bristled with enough firepower to level continents. For 50 years, we've been preparing for this day, Admiral Lee said. While you watched us fight each other on the surface, we built a real military in secret. Every meteor impact, every asteroid mining operation, every space debris cleanup mission was cover for construction projects. General Park Minji appeared on screen, her cybernetic eye glowing as she accessed military databases. We have 12,000 combat vessels, War Marshal. 5,000 fighters, 4,000 cruisers, 2,000 dreadnoughts, and 1,000 ships of types you've never encountered. And we're building more every day. The scale was unimaginable. In 50 years of secret construction, humanity had built a fleet larger than the combined militaries of most galactic sectors. And unlike alien ships designed for multiple purposes, every human vessel was built for one thing: war. But we don't want to rule the galaxy, President Yoon said. We want to fix it. Your Federation has kept peace by ignoring problems and letting strong species prey on weak ones. We're offering something different. The star chart changed again, showing detailed plans for galactic reorganization. Protected zones around vulnerable worlds, trade routes secured by human patrols, diplomatic stations where conflicts could be resolved before they became wars. The United Earth Federation is extending membership to any species that wants real protection, President Yoon continued. Not just paperwork and committee meetings, but actual security backed by force. Join us, and no one will dare threaten your worlds again. Ambassador Velthari looked at the plans with growing amazement. It wasn't conquest, it was transformation. The humans were offering to reshape galactic civilization based on strength and protection, rather than bureaucracy and wishful thinking. And if we refuse? She asked quietly. Admiral Lee's expression returned to cold professionalism. Then you return to your worlds and explain to your governments what happened here. You tell them that the species they voted to exterminate is now offering protection to anyone wise enough to accept it, and you warn them that Deathworlders have very long memories. War Marshal Grixtall understood the threat. Humanity wouldn't attack unprovoked, but they would never forget which species had voted for genocide. Any future aggression would be met with the same overwhelming response that had destroyed his fleet. Dr. Kim Taeho brought up biological and psychological profiles of various alien species. War Marshal, your people in most galactic civilizations evolved on peaceful worlds. You're not built for extended conflict or high-stress situations, but there are dangerous species out there that your Federation can't handle. Pirates, raiders, expansionist empires that respect only strength. We can handle them, General Park Minji added, because we understand something your peaceful species never learned. Sometimes the only way to protect innocent life is to be willing to take life from those who threaten it. The conversation continued for hours as the reality of humanity's emergence sank in. The galaxy's balance of power had shifted completely in the span of a single battle. The Federation's military was broken, their leadership was in shock, and dozens of worlds were already switching sides to join the human alliance. There's one more thing you need to understand, Admiral Lee said, as the communication session neared its end. We know you didn't start this war out of evil. You were afraid. Your intelligence told you we were a threat, and you acted to protect your civilizations. We can respect that even if we can't forgive it. President Yoon stepped forward, but fear-based decisions led you to vote for genocide. That's a line you can never uncross. From now on, the galaxy will know what happens when peaceful species try to solve their problems through extermination. War Marshal Grixtall nodded slowly. What happens to us now? To the survivors? You'll be taken to a neutral station where you can contact your governments, Admiral Lee replied. Your damaged ships will be towed there by our vessels. Consider it a gesture of good faith. And then you go home and deliver our message. The age of committee-based peace is over. Real peace requires strength, and we have more strength than you can imagine.